Welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is this, the new Range Rover Sport. Now, I went to the launch of this car some months ago in the studio, and when they first took the covers off, I was a bit shocked because it was sort of much bigger than the outgoing Range Rover Sport. That was sort of a KN rival. This looked much bigger. It almost looked like it was another Range Rover. But we have the new Range Rover sitting right at the top of the range now. And I'm slightly confused where this Range Rover Sport now fits. So I booked one in, I've lived with it a few days just to find out. Now this version is the D350 version. There isn't an SVR version just yet, but I think that's the one that most customers will actually choose. Let's go and have a closer look. Now, start at the front. I think the front styling looks pretty good to me. It does look Range Rover-like rather than Range Rover Sport, but it's sort of it's different because it has even narrower lights there, and then it has this almost front air dam here, and it's almost a front spoiler splitter going on here. I will just tell a story. When I first saw the KN, years ago when it was first launched by Porsche, the Porsche designer at the time, I asked him that it was a bit odd seeing a Porsche with no sort of aerodynamics going on here. And in very colourful language, he said, well, it doesn't really matter if it's got a little bit of front end lift. It weighs over 2 tons, so a little lift doesn't matter at all. And I do wonder on this, on the Range Rover Sport, does it actually need a front end spoiler on it? Normally they get clearance because they've got approach angles, etc. And that'll all disappear with this. I think it might be because there's a pack on this. It's the Stormer handling pack. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Other things that annoy at the front here. Range Rover Sport has always been king of the false vents. We've got those on the bonnet we'll see in a moment, but this is completely false. That you can see there, they're completely blind. There's no air going in there. There's some sort of blindness going on here as well. You see here. And then if you come round, these are pure decorations. There's no venting going on in the bonnet, nothing like that. And if you just actually step back and look at the car in profile, it is enormous. I cannot get over how the body colour goes down and the extended sill. That actually comes out with the door, but it is huge. Now the Range Rover Sport always had sort of cut down windows compared to a Range Rover. It's the same here. It's quite neat. They've sort of got rid of that sort of rubber seal as the window goes in, but it is vast. The plus side is there's good space in the back. Range Rover Sports were always a bit compromised on space, but not so the new one. It actually sits on the same wheelbase as the standard Range Rover, so there is good space in the back there. This is odd though. This is autobiography trim, and there's this sort of Meridian sound system. They put this sort of fabric trim on both doors, front and rear, and I think it's something to do with the sound system. It is a bit black inside there, so I can't really show the interior. Well, I'll do that outside. Huge wheels, 22-inch wheels, 285 45 R22s. Now these are actually the Scorpion Zero, they're the M&S version. These tyres are pretty good actually. I've had them in snow as well as sort of mud going, etc. because, you know, Land Rover is hooked on this off-road ability, and even on the Range Rover Sport, they compromise the handling slightly by fitting the all-season tyres. Come around the back and it looks radically different, this Range Rover Sport, than all other Range Rovers in the range. They never had the split tailgate, but there is this bar going across now, and rather on the Range Rover how the lights were hidden, these aren't hidden in the same way, and the number plates sort of move down there, and it's just bigger. It doesn't look coupe-like. A previous Range Rover Sport had a sort of more raked screen, and it sort of was tapered to the rear. Not so on this version. It's big. It looks Range Rover-like rather than Range Rover Sport. Also, you'll notice if you look behind, no exhaust finishers. The exhausts actually poke out here. There's 2 pipes underneath there, but no finishers, no nothing. It almost looks, you think it was electric powered or whatever, but they've actually tried to hide the exhaust pipes on this one. If I lift the huge back up, there are some neat touches in here. There we are. You do get a spare, but it's a space saver type, so you can't go at full speed with it. And this is quite neat. It's a big boot in here, but this little trick here means you've got a mini boot, so you can put your things there without them all rattling around all through the rest of the boot, and you can strap things on here. So I quite like that touch. It's a bit fiddly the way it has to go down, but yeah, folds away like that. Yeah. When you come round the side, the big difference with this is just the volume of car you get when you order a Range Rover Sport. It's a much bigger boot on it, for example. You can see the size of it here, and it comes at a price. This is the autobiography version of D350, and list on this is £99,245 with options, and the biggest option is this Stormer handling pack, 5,330, is £106,120. It's over £100,000 worth of Range Rover Sport, and it's just the D350, okay, in autobiography trim. So the prices have gone up about 15,000, but they are around 20,000 less than a full-size Range Rover. So there you go. Let's take it outside, see how it drives. Yeah, it all feels, from Range Rover and then stepping into this, what you notice is this is higher. All this centre console, same sort of screen we get here. Telling me, oh, temporary ride out, what have we got? All dynamic, auto stop starts on there. They've cleaned it up, like everyone. They've tried to banish buttons as much as they can. I'm going to start it up because it's quite chilly today. So just get that on. I'm going to put the heated seats on as well. I like heated seats too. There we are. I couldn't find the handbrake. It's funny, I was looking around and thinking I'm going mad here. I had to get the handbrake on. Has no handbrake now, you just get park to drive, reverse, whatever here. But to actually put the handbrake on, you can only press park. Loads of bins as ever, cup holders here, and then this weird second bin underneath, a secret vault underneath the cup holders. Wireless charging there for your phone, but I'm told it fires out, and I've experienced it. If you put your phone, it's sort of glossy sort of plastic, and your phone do an acceleration or something, out it pops, which is a bit weird. Smaller wheel than you expect to find on a Range Rover, but it's very enclosed. There's lower glass than on the Range Rover, so it sort of feels different, and quite a small sort of dash layout. You can see it all inside the wheel, but I just think it's time to move away from round dials. You know, my Lotus Emira has moved away. God, I don't know why they're obsessed with still doing round dials. Anyway, I'm going to crack on. Auto lock, etc. Starts on access height, this car at the moment. It's probably some setup somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to disappear off. You'll join me on some better roads in a moment. As soon as you set off in this car, first thing you sense, this is very plush. There's a hushness to it, and it's very easy gear change. You just slip on in. It has a feeling of heft around it, which we'll come to in a moment. Yeah, and it feels step above. It feels sort of luxury, weirdly, rather than sport. And it is quiet. I did measure it on my normal bit of road, and it's 65, 66 decibels, which is proper whisper quiet. Just the ride initially, it doesn't quite handle bumps as well as you expect. I think that's something to do with the size of the wheels on this car. You think, oh, it'll just glide over that, and it does, manholes and little ridges, not so sure about. And it feels big, sort of looking through the mirror, looking the back, it just feels big. Actually sits on the same wheelbase as the full-size Range Rover. Right, here we go, let's see how quick it gets up the hill. It's quite an interesting sound, isn't it? It's almost a V8 sound coming from this straight six diesel. I feel weird calling it a V8, but there is some sort of sound coming from the engine that I have suspicion is digital. I can actually put it in something called a dynamic mode, and that just changed the handling stuff. But it also changes the noise. Right, I'll go to Sport on there. Just have a listen to this. There's a little bit of digital something sound coming through if you have it in dynamic, which is not what I expected from the D350 Range Rover Sport. But yeah, wafting along at 60 and motorway speeds, it's a very relaxing place to be. I'm surprised at the gearing of this car, and in there, yeah, this anti-roll and it's so odd, the sound of it. It's not real, but it's not a bad sound, but it is not real. And I'm meant to be sort of sensing the bumps in there. I've got sort of feelless steering. Yeah, I can just sense it's just swallowing the bumps. It's not really dealing with them. It's sort of, it has the weight to deal with them without having the suspension having to work too hard. Then it crashes, like it sort of runs out of ideas. Let's take it out of dynamic and put it into normal. See how it does this little bit. This is the most tested bit, and yet a very big change actually. Yeah, I'm surprised how much difference that dynamic setting makes to the actual ride quality. Because it hasn't actually got any anti-roll bars on this car. It's all done via, well, it has got anti-roll bars, but they're electronically controlled. So when you're not actually cornering, they're free to move. It helps with the off-roadness, which the car is all about. That's short geared as well. I'm in 6, doing 60 and 2000 RPM, and I've got 2 more gears to go. But it wasn't. It was revving quite hard in 3rd and 4th. I suppose they've done that to give it the acceleration, because it does 5.7, I think it is, to 60 this car, which is pretty impressive for the size of car. Now, I mentioned the weight earlier. The Range Rover quote a weight of 2,360 kilos. That is 245 kilos heavier than the outgoing Sport. But my scales aren't working at the moment. I noticed Autocar had weighed their D300 Range Rover Sport 2,511 kilos. It's a 2.5 ton car now. So yeah, that's why it squashes the bumps so well. It will deal with this little compression here, no problem at all. What's it going to be like round this route round here, especially on all-season tyres, which is not ideal for the dynamics. Now that didn't do too bad round there. That is quite impressive round there. Yeah, I like all-season tyres. It saves you ever having to buy winter tyres for the UK, because they do a half reasonable job in snow. Nothing like a proper winter tyre, but okay for UK use. I'm going to run through some of the likes and dislikes on this car, and starting with the dislike. Well, one, design. I don't know, when you said Range Rover Sport, I expected it to have a more rakish look to it, and it doesn't. It's just an alternative sort of Range Rover look to me. And I think it's partly my fault, being editorial type. If you say Sport on the back, I expect it to be sporting, but you've got to look at Discovery Sport. And that's not really sporting, it's just the junior Discovery, and basically this is the junior Range Rover, and you get your head round that, and then it sort of makes more sense. Price is another dislike, because it's moved up. This is a £106,000 car I'm testing, and it's the diesel D350. It's not anything uber fancy V8 crazy snorting SVR. So that's a surprise, and I don't think the design is quite as coherent as it is on the full-size Range Rover as well, with those fabulous rear lights. There's a statement there. This feels not quite as finished or top of its class in design states, although it is a very good-looking car. And then the heft. We've really got to the position where the Land Rover is not alone here, but this is a 2.5 ton family car. What's going on? I mean, if it was electric, I suppose it would be even more, but if we are really trying to drive efficiency, this isn't the best place to start. Right, here are the testing beds, and I'm going through in normal with drive. Oh, I just want to, just want to unsteer. Brakes, that's not nice. Right, yeah, it's working. Whee! Whoa! Yeah, it didn't like that, did it? I'm surprised. I think it's the all-season tyres, and it let go at the front when we're going through the easy bit, and then just let go at the rear around there. You can't turn any stabilisation off on this. You're stuck with it, really, which I sort of understand when it's controlling such a lot of mass. There are some lights though, and one of the lights is just the refinement. This is a lovely place to travel, and you will not have any complaints at all about doing big miles in this car. The infotainment system is just the same as on new Range Rover and other cars we've seen. It works. There are no complaints. Yes, it's a bit laggy when it's cold, but basically it's a good screen. I like the way they've curved it, because then you don't get the reflections that you do on a flat screen. It's a bit dominant, I know, but at least it connects very easily and doesn't drop out like they used to. Another like is just the space of it. They're always a bit pinched, Range Rover Sport. Not so this one. This is full size. There is no complaints about sitting in the back, and you have that monster boot on it as well. So the practicality side of it is good. Although they've dropped the 7-seater option on this one, it's only available as a 5-seater. But even though I've gone through all those lights, I'm still not quite sure about this car. It's a good car in isolation, but it doesn't feel what I would term to be a sort of pillar of the brand. Since this car arrived, it arrived 2004, first Range Rover Sport arrived, it really made sense. There was Range Rover up the top, there was Defender, they wanted something to plug the gap in between the two, Range Rover Sport, and it flew, and it was a very desirable bit of kit. Since then, Velar's rocked up, and also the new Defender. And it's getting quite crowded for me in that space, 70, 100,000 in Land Rover land, and it competes very closely with those two. And it just doesn't feel like a pillar of the brand anymore. It feels like, oh, I've got to do a Range Rover Sport, oh, this is it. And it's basically a junior Range Rover, it's an alternative Range Rover. It's a good way to save £20,000. And as I say, it's a good car. I think if they'd actually looked at it, they were coming out of that Range Rover Coupe and then that disappeared. Imagine if Range Rover Sport sat above Range Rover. Now that's an interesting space. You have Urus now, we have the Aston DBX, we have Bentayga. Imagine a couped 4-door Range Rover Sport sitting above them. Let's call it Range Rover Vitesse. Now that sounds more appealing than a sort of slightly junior Range Rover that's sort of muddied between Defender and Range Rover itself. So I'm not criticising the car, but I just think it's a missed opportunity. It's very good, it goes down the road, you're not going to complain, and if you were thinking the Range Rover's got a bit expensive, fine, just buy a Range Rover Sport, but do not expect it to have the dynamic ability that badge suggests it should. This is not a KN rival. It's too heavy, it's too luxurious, it just doesn't go down the road like that. It's compromised by its tyres and its off-road ability, and for that reason I can't say it's my favourite Range Rover. I still stick with full-size Range Rover or Defender. So there you go, that's my conclusion of the new Range Rover Sport. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming along very soon.